Alrighty, everyone. This is meteorologist Timmy Albertson here with you guys for tonight's weather chat with Timmy. We're going to take a look at Tropical Storm Philippe, which is kind of doing a little bit better, but that's not really saying much than it was this time yesterday. We'll also take a little bit of a look at what's going on right now in the current weather. Things are a little bit quiet today, but still, nonetheless, at least a little bit in the way of some active weather here and there. Now, with that in mind, before we begin any further, as I've been mentioning for about the past week or so, we are going to be changing the location of where we post these videos. So if you haven't already, make sure you go to awsc.live. Just type that into your browser. That'll take you to the right YouTube page that you're going to want to be subscribed to. We'll take a look at the difference between the two pages in just a little bit. But again, make sure if you haven't already, awsc.live. That is the page that you're going to want to be subscribed to. All right, let's go ahead and take a look down at the tropics. Tropical Storm Philippe. Well, it's kind of doing better. I mean, at least it's got some convection this afternoon. Winds right now estimated to be about 50 miles an hour. Philippe is not the best organized tropical system. Let's put it for you that way. It's running into a lot of wind shear right now, and that's just really kind of hindering it. Its intensity will probably fluctuate a little bit over the course of the rest of the week. But ultimately, what's likely going to probably happen is that Philippe is going to gradually begin to weaken, especially as we go towards the end of the work week and into the weekends. And it very well probably just transition to a non-tropical cyclone at that point. Now, could it be maybe making its way towards land? Yes, it might try to angle its way down towards Puerto Rico, but by that point, it'll probably just be some rain showers and thunderstorms. Nothing too unusual, nothing too strong there. Again, that's the Hurricane Center's graphic you see there. Again, not the fastest moving system, and it will be weakening as mentioned as it does, kind of continue the way through the week. Now, some fluctuations in the intensity are going to be possible. Again, yesterday when we were looking at it, it was about 45-mile-an-hour winds. Now it's up to 50, but you kind of get the idea. It's probably not going to get too much stronger than what it currently is. So that's Philippe. Now, there is another disturbance not too far behind Philippe that will probably become our next named system either later this week or certainly probably by the time we get towards the weekend with the way things are looking. And so we'll take a little bit of a look more at that system once it finally gets itself a little bit better organized and everything. But just keep that in mind that, hey, we might have another system out there. Of course, this is the most active time for at least for the Atlantic for tropical systems. Tends to be, late August going into at least early October. So that's kind of when we see the peak of hurricane season. All right. Now we got that out of the way. Let's go ahead, folks, and we'll zoom out here a little bit. We'll take a little bit of a look at the radar imagery, and we'll have ourselves a little look at what is going on across the country. And as mentioned, not necessarily the most active day, at least in terms of, strong, severe thunderstorms. As a matter of fact, I don't really think we have I don't think we have any severe thunderstorm warnings or anything of that nature right now. We got a few special weather statements, so let's go ahead and we'll flip over to the old radar here and take a little bit of a look here. So basically, we got that area of high pressure across the upper Midwest. Trying to keep things a little bit quiet, but there is still at least kind of this little bit of a trough kind of producing at least a few rain showers out across parts of the upper Midwest, not quite as active as what it was over the weekend in some of those locations. Now, yesterday, we kind of took a look at that area of low pressure that was right around, northern Illinois. It's now down in southern Illinois. It is continuing to weaken, and it probably will continue to do so as we go our way through the overnight tonight. But what we see further off towards the west is a little bit of a different story. Now, again, you see this little area of low pressure here. There's actually an upper level trough that is associated with. So let me go ahead here, and that's what I forgot to get ready, was the latest surface chart here. Let's go ahead and see here on which one of these tabs it is. Well, that's the SPC's forecast. There we go. All right. Let's take a look here at the upper level chart, shall we? All right, there's that upper level low still there. Again, it is a little bit weaker than what it was a couple days ago. It's going to kind of continue to weaken and drift its way up towards the north, and that is eventually going to kind of open the door for a little bit of ridging to take place across the central part of the U.S. You can already kind of see a little bit happening there. This is the upper level trough right now over the Pacific Northwest. And what's likely going to happen over the next couple of days here is that trough's just going to kind of hang out around that region. Now, there is Probably going to be a little bit of an extension here. If we were to zoom out, I know this is one trippy graphic, isn't it? Let's go ahead here. We'll just zoom in a little bit. So this is kind of just a particular forecast model. Don't take it exactly as is. When I show these, it's just to kind of help illustrate more or less the kind of the big picture. You don't want to take these exactly as is, but this is a 500 millibar height and vorticity map there. So most of you watching probably are not familiar with this, so there's not much to really decipher for you guys. But basically, long story short, and hey, I say that because as we go forward, you know, in these videos, especially as we go into winter, you're going to become a lot more familiar with what you're, you know, with this type of map and a lot of other type of maps here. Don't worry, you guys will learn some fun stuff as we go into the winter time. We have these strong low pressure systems. But basically, let's just take a little bit of a look right now, kind of what's going on. So there's that upper level trough. As we work our way, whoop, kind of went a little too far forward. Let me scoot this over a little bit so that you guys can see it a bit more centered. So we see that upper level trough here, need to go over just a little bit more, is going to kind of hang around the Pacific Northwest. But what we see as we go into later in the day tomorrow is we got kind of these little waves that are going to be riding along it right there. And there's a little notch there. And what that's going to translate to, at least on the surface map, as a matter of fact, we'll flip over to not that surface map here, but the other one that I had up. That's the other one. Wow, boy, I have so many tabs open. And like I say, folks, this is not the record amount of tabs I've had open before. And this is just one particular page. So basically that little disturbance that you see there on that upper level chart is going to kind of help a few of these little waves of low pressure to meander their way up across parts of Montana. So as we go into the day tomorrow, we are still going to be seeing the possibility for some shower activity and maybe even a few thunderstorms across the Pacific Northwest. Interestingly, you know, some of the forecasting is suggesting there may be a little bit of a wintry mix up across some of the higher elevations in Washington and over in northern Idaho and also into Montana. But for most of you watching, it'll be rain. Anyways, moving rapidly along. There's our little center of low pressure, by the way, our little guy down there producing some showers and maybe some storms across Ohio, my home state. So, but of course now I live up in Duluth. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and kind of advance this a little bit further here. So this is going into tomorrow morning. Again, we kind of got this little bit of a frontal boundary kind of stretched across the upper plains going back into parts of the Rocky Mountain region. Overall, you see that kind of tracks its way a little bit more towards the Dakotas as we go into Thursday afternoon. Now, we're going to see that frontal boundary kind of hanging around, and what we may end up eventually seeing is kind of another little area of low pressure trying to develop along it. Now, last night we talked about sometimes where we see what's called the triple point with the occluded front, cold front, and the warm front. Sometimes we get these little new areas of low pressure to develop along it. So that will certainly maybe help to produce a couple of showers and even some thunderstorms going across parts of the central plains, or more, I guess I should say the upper plains, as we go into the day on Friday. Now, what will be interesting to see is maybe if any of those try to become strong, because again, there's that warm front there. Meanwhile, still just dealing with some rain showers back out across the Pacific Northwest. Again, this is all associated with that upper level trough that's going to be sitting off the Pacific coast. So what you kind of see here on this map, more or less, are just kind of these waves riding along that trough. What's going to happen, though, as we go towards the weekend, if we go back to our map here, take a look, you see that trough really begins to dig into the Pacific Northwest. All right, and this is going to kind of create a little bit of an interesting situation. Now, this is an upper level chart here, okay? So again, you might not be very familiar with seeing this, but again, this right here is the trough. Honestly, probably borderline closed low at this point. Now, basically what you see are these lines. These are lines of pressure height. We'll come back to that at a later date. But basically, you could think of the way that the winds work, at least at this altitude, is they run parallel with those lines. So upper level winds to be kind of coming out of the southwest across parts of the Rocky Mountain area. Now, this back here is ridging. So this is where the warmer air is going to be, relatively speaking. The cooler air will be closer towards that trough and even a little bit further back behind that trough. That's generally how that coordinate, or that generally is how that translates when we're looking at a surface chart. I know a lot of information here for you, but I'm just throwing it out there now, so when I show it later on this season, it won't be as new to you guys there. So what are we looking at here? This is as we go into probably the end of the weekend. Let's see, October 1st is going to be Sunday, I do believe. Yes, Sunday is October 1st. Let me check my calendar really quickly. So nope, yeah. Sunday is October 1st. Wow. All right. So this is going to be as we go into Saturday night and going into the day on Sunday. We can see this ridging beginning to take place across pretty much a good chunk of the eastern United States. So might not be quite as active weather there, but it's also probably going to be above average temperatures. Now, of course, this point in the year, when we talk about above average temperatures, we're generally not talking about 100-degree numbers, but for this time of the year, especially going into early October, in some places, maybe around Arkansas, could very well be getting into the upper 80s, even into the lower 90s, and some of that heat maybe try to track its way up parts of the Mississippi River Valley. So wouldn't be shocked if we see quite a few 80-degree temperatures, especially across parts of Illinois, maybe as we go into the late in the weekend, more so heading into early next week. And now, again, folks, my primary area of forecasting is Minnesota, Wisconsin, and parts of North Dakota and Michigan. So not exactly, that's a little out of my realm there, so I can't give you the exact numbers, but we do have other forecasters who forecast down for that area. But basically, what that's going to also translate to is when we tend to see this area right here, sometimes that's kind of a good indication that's probably where we're going to be seeing some of our more active weather as we go forward. And again, without getting into the specifics of it, it's just kind of the way that normally shapes out. Now, really what's happening here is again, this is a good area for having areas of low pressure develop. They track their way in, cooler air comes in behind it. Meanwhile, at the surface, you probably have that southwesterly flow. Here's the upper level high. The high would be over there. And again, even that is not going into much detail of what that map is really telling you, but you kind of get the idea. So that's kind of the setup here. We're going to have kind of some troughing going on across the western part of the U.S., and some ridging going on across the central and eastern part of the U.S. So we are going to be seeing those above average temperatures. And yesterday we took a look at the CPC's map of what they expect, for the 6 to 10 day out temperature outlook here. Let's go ahead and pull it up again here. Take a look at this. Right where you see that ridging, especially on the western half of that ridging, above average temperatures. This is the Climate Prediction Center's outlook. Now, this does not necessarily tell you numbers per se. This tells you the likelihood of over this time frame, if you averaged it all out, what will the temperatures be above or below average? It does not tell you how much above average they're going to be. However, correlation generally works out that when we have a high probability of above average temperatures, it means it's going to probably be noticeably above average. So that's the area, Michigan, Wisconsin. Go figure, the area that I'm in around Duluth, all the way down towards Missouri and parts of western Kentucky. That whole area will likely be seeing above average temperatures, especially as we start off the following work week. So once we get past this weekend, going into the start of next work week, probably when we're going to start seeing those above average temperatures. Now, again, folks, it's not going to be 100 degrees, but it will be warmer than usual. Now, that's where the ridge is. Back where the trough is, it's going to probably be cloudy. They're going to be dealing with rain showers. There's a lot of cooler air with that trough there. And again, we won't get into the physics of why, but take a look. Places like Death Valley will still probably be hot as all get out, but not quite as hot, whatever. But below average temperatures are going to be possible around that area. Las Vegas going up to parts of southwestern Utah, and maybe even around the Phoenix area, some below average temperatures. So instead of it being 100,000 degrees, it'll just be 90,000 degrees. But you get the idea. And go figure, right in between is where the probability is equal for either or. Now, again, we're looking at the time frame of October 2nd to October 6th. All right, this is not the rest of the season. It's just one particular time frame that we're looking at. But again, when we go back to that map, you can see how it lines up. Where that trough is, below average temperatures. And again, this translates to stuff at the surface of seeing areas of low pressure. In fact, if we were to go ahead and try to pull up that, the WPC's map here, let's go ahead and take a look here. This is going towards the end of the weekend. And folks, this is all public information too here, at least from this. And we're just showing this because it's a little bit quicker than having to pull out the old forecast maps here. And for the most part, it kind of lines up here. So this is going into Saturday. This is what they're expecting, all right? So you can see there's that upper level trough. We got these centers of low pressure down at the surface. Some of them are stacked up with that. And again, so there's cooler air completely in the columns. Meanwhile, not quite as active across the eastern part. They're dealing with a surface area of high pressure, pretty much right along the St. Lawrence River, going back down towards Ottawa and Ontario. Little area of low pressure moving off the coast. If we advance this now to Sunday, check that out. Again, there you go. That lines up pretty well with what we see, at least on this particular model run. Here's our upper level ridge. Here's our upper level trough there. If we translate this down to the surface, this is what it looks like. So this western part right here is where a lot of the active weather is probably going to be. When I say active weather, I mean best chances, for seeing, showers, thunderstorms. Now, obviously, places further off to the west will also be dealing with showers, but when we talk about that, we'll take a look to see what the Storm Prediction Center is thinking about any of these. But that's kind of a little bit of a setup there. So upper level winds coming in from the southwest here. Again, at the surface, we have our southerly wind here. So that's what we're kind of expecting there. And I know, for me, this makes a lot of sense, but for a lot of you, probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense quite yet. And that's why I said as we go further into the season, when we kind of get maybe some little stronger systems, this will start, really making a lot of sense when we take a look at the different levels and how they interact with each other. I mean, again, remember, folks, in weather, everything is connected from the ground all the way up to the end of the atmosphere, and things happen for a reason. Of course, the Earth is round and it rotates, which does kind of complicate things when you're trying to model it, but that's not the point. The point is that, there you go. So that's looking into Sunday. Let's advance this forward as we go into the day on Monday. Again, that trough not going to be moving much, so that disturbance isn't going to be tracking off to the west or to the east per se directly. It's going to go northeast. So that, again, we got that frontal boundary that's now going to be draped out across parts of, the upper plains going back into the parts of the Rocky Mountains. So again, showers and thunderstorms going to be likely around those areas. Maybe not quite as active over across the eastern part of the U.S., again, sitting underneath of that upper level ridge. A lot of sinking air when this happens. So there you go. Fun times. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look over at our friends at the Storm Prediction Center are thinking maybe as far as severe weather is concerned. Now, it was interesting. I did see for their day one outlook today, again, possibility for some strong storms. Looks to see here. I'm going to bet, mainly some hail, a little bit of rotation there. Again, I'm just showing you this kind of as a general outline here. We're just kind of taking a look here. So again, there's, as we go into, this will be Friday, maybe the possibility for a couple of showers and some thunderstorms out across parts of the Central Plains. So I'm just curious if they're thinking of anything, and doesn't look like so. So mainly probably just going to be rain and some general thunderstorms, not expecting a severe weather outbreak. And from some of the stuff I looked at, that sounds about right. But I was just curious to see what they were thinking. Again, some of that's going to be outside of my forecast realm. So that's kind of, though, what that looks like. Let's go ahead here, and just for fun, you know what? Let's pull up the National Weather Service. Let's go ahead and take a look at our good friends over at Death Valley. Or let's take a look here. Actually, pick a place that's pretty terrible. It's called Needles, California, and Needles, California holds the record for the hottest temperature while it was raining. It was 118. Pretty terrible, huh? Imagine it being 118 degrees. Yeah. And raining. Yeah, and it was only a trace. Only a few raindrops managed to survive down to the surface. All right, so tomorrow they're expecting a high temperature of about 101. Look at that. It's already 100 degrees there. In case you're wondering where this location is, we'll come back to it here on the weather map. I'll point out to you where Needles is. But anyways, let's take a look at some of these temperatures here. So again, the Storm Prediction Center was talking about below average temperatures down around this area as we start off the first week of October. Let's take a look here. They're going from 101 degrees tomorrow, and the National Weather Service down there is expecting a high temperature on Sunday of 81 degrees. Oh boy, I hope their heaters work down there. And then kind of leveling off into the mid 80s as we go into Monday, but then kind of going back up towards the back into the lower 90s by the time we get into Wednesday. So let's take a look here and see if they got an almanac around this area. Though I doubt they probably do. Let's see here if we can't. This is going to be, what office is this? Las Vegas. Be interesting to see here what. Yeah, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at this. Let's see what their normals are. That's for Las Vegas. Curious if they had one out. If they have a, I'm certain they probably do. And I'm probably not looking in the right spot. I probably have to go into Axiom and pull it up there, do some hard weather data search for them. I was just curious though if they would have had an almanac uh, for needles. That I do not know if they do or not. But let's take a look here. If we can't, really quickly. Whoa. Well, there's Lake Havasu. So yeah, take a look at that. Temperature is dropping down. Look at that, 79 degrees in Lake Havasu. Obviously, that's a little bit below average for this time of the year down there. Of course, again, folks, that is just a hot area. I guess all they have is Las Vegas's their normal values. Las Vegas normal value for today, 91 degrees with a low of 68. So let's actually go ahead here. If we can go back and see what they're thinking for Las Vegas. 73 degrees for a high on Sunday. So that's a pretty good below average right there. That's the center that they're kind of picking up on. So, however, that's going to be October 1st. So, again, they're averaging over between the 2nd and the 6th of October, the average temperature, during that time frame, is it likely going to be above average or below average? So the temperature that they're forecasting for that time frame, will that end up being below or above average? Again, generally where we see higher probabilities generally correlates to way more above average, just because that's easier to forecast and put probabilities on. If I'm expecting the high temperature to be 100 degrees and the average high is 70, that's a pretty good probability that it's going to be above average, especially over a time frame. So, but that's what you see there. And again, that's going to be all courtesy of that. So, going to be below average temperatures across parts of the western part of the U.S. as we go into the weekend, and especially going into the start of next work week. Sunday, Monday looked like Las Vegas. That's when their cooler temperatures would be. And then we're seeing some above average temperatures out across parts of the Mississippi River Valley, going maybe back into parts of the southern part of the Great Lakes. As a matter of fact, while we're on that, let's take a look here at St. Louis. And again, right now I'm just kind of doing this kind of on the fly here. Most likely, next when we do this tomorrow, we'll probably take a little bit more of a look at the data, kind of the climatological averages. There's some weather sites weather people have that'll give us a bit more information. Pretty fun. All right, let's take a look here. So for St. Louis, they're expecting highs upper 80s, nearing 90 degrees, pretty much starting tomorrow and then kind of continuing through. So let's see what their curious as to what their average is for this time of the year out across the not Las Vegas, St. Louis area. Let's take a look at their weather office here. We'll just take kind of a quick little peek here. I'm curious as to what the St. Louis average is for this time of the year. St. Louis. What you got for us? Let's take a look here, St. Louis. Their average high this time of the year is 77 degrees. So that's pretty above average. So again, obviously we're going into wintertime. We're obviously heading towards winter, so we know that average high, will drop. As we go through, all the way to probably about January. But anyways, that's the normal value, the climatological normal value. Wow, 77 degrees for a high over there. Today it was 84 degrees, so it was already averaged about 8 degrees above average between the high and the low today in St. Louis, so already above average, and it's looking like it's going to be more above average, probably on the order of maybe about 10 degrees or so above average going into the start of next work week. So again, there you go. Pretty cool. All right. So, everyone, that's kind of a look at what's going to be going on. Going to be a bit warm across the central and eastern part of the U.S. as we go towards the weekend, starting off next work week, a little bit below average. Across the western part of the U.S., shower, thunderstorm activity probably going to be likely. Let's take a look over at the radar here really quickly. I mentioned Needles, California. It's like right around here. Let's see if we actually can't zoom in a little bit. I believe it's in San Bernardino County. There it is. Yeah, San Bernardino County is ridiculously huge in land. And it's funny because just about everybody lives right there. I don't know why they need all this, but that's not the point. The point is whatever. So there's Needles, California, again, right about there. All right, let's take a look here over at parts of Ohio. Again, they're expecting maybe some shower and thunderstorm activity. That's going to be courtesy of this area of low pressure. That this will eventually get, this front's kind of stalled out right now, but it's looking like it will be pushing its way to the south and to the east, becoming a cold front, and that's probably going to help to allow for some shower and thunderstorm activity to develop. Already got a few right now in central Indiana. Let's take a look down at Indianapolis. I've been there before. It's funny. I'm from Ohio, and one of the arguments, of course, I'm from the northern part of Ohio, but one of the arguments they have in Ohio is, which is better, since Indianapolis or Columbus, because they're kind of about the same size. Metro's a little bit different, but they're kind of about the same size, and it's kind of funny, actually. But anyways, let's take a look here. This is over at Indianapolis. Special weather statement on this little guy. Expires. Let's see what it has to say. 40-mile-an-hour winds and pea-size hail. Okay, so again, barely at the criteria. Well, I mean, it's like kind of a normal thunderstorm, just maybe with a little bit of hail there. But it's rush hour down there, so why not? And some heavy downpours. It's like right over the, well, that's like pretty much right over the airport. Oh, that reminds me. Hey, it's over the airport, folks. You know what that means we can do? Let's take a look and see what it's doing with their flights. All right, remember we did this remember we did this last week with those storms down in Oklahoma and Texas? Let's go ahead and see how much of a mess Indianapolis airport is going to be. I mean, probably not much of one, but let's see here. We still got stuff flying. I mean, this is probably not a very high thunderstorm. Let's see if we can't get a good look here at the cloud heights here. At least radar indicated cloud heights. Are we able? Oh no, sorry, we're on the wrong radar. Let's flip over to the regular radar. Let's take a look here to see what it has for estimated cloud tops. Yep, there we go. Let's see what it says here. How high some of these storms are. And looks like we're going to be looking at cloud heights of. Oh, that's right. It's right over the radar site. So we won't know that. Well, that's a bummer. That's right. It's right over the. It's right over the radar, so I guess it doesn't work. It's called the cone of silence in radar, and there's reasons why, but it's radar struggle like right up on it. That's why you see this little black circle here, and you see that black circle there. So yeah, I will imagine that there's some cloud heights there though. All right, let's go ahead and take another look back here at our little map here. Let's just see what's going on with Indy. Let's see here. The average delay is about 5 minutes, both departure, and there's a little bit of disruption there. Let's see here. I'm wondering if they're holding. And now Indianapolis Airport is not. I mean, it's not a it's not a big busy airport, but it looks like this flight. This is American Airlines. It is going to. Oh, it's going to Boston. Yeah, this flight's going to Boston, and it is delayed a little bit. So they're delaying the takeoff. My guess is because of that thunderstorm. That's just my guess. Because you don't really want to fly your plane through a thunderstorm. I mean, you can. I mean, hurricane hunters do it all the time. But passenger planes, you don't really want to fly them into a thunderstorm, especially when there's a possibility for some hail. Because even though there might not be hail at the surface, up higher up, there could be hail. Some of that stuff is frozen, and you don't want to be flying about 500 miles an hour getting hit with chunks of ice. So anyways, yeah. But that's that. So Indianapolis Airport. All right, everyone, I think that covers what we needed to talk about for tonight. Oh, one more thing. Let's take a look at the YouTube thing here. So if you are subscribed to this page, this is not going to end up being the correct one. This is not the one that you're going to want to be subscribed to because, like I said, beginning October 2nd, we're going to be posting the weather chat videos only to this page right here. That one. See the snowfall banner at the top? That's the one you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed to. If you don't know how to get to that one, this is how you do it. you go over, type in your web browser, awsc.live, hit enter. It'll take you to our good friend, this page. All right. So make sure that you are part of that page. If you are part of this page, weather chats won't be posted there after October 2nd. Good. All right. Now we got that out of the way. All righty. Well, that was a fun time. We covered a lot. We covered Philippe, which is, you got to give him points, man. He's still going. I mean, you got to give it credit. He ain't the strongest one, but he's still going. He ain't giving up yet, even though he's getting punched routinely with wind shear. But that's that. It's a very sheared system. Everything's on the eastern half. It's kind of hard to find the center a little bit. Anyways, we talked about that and some other stuff. So I hope you all have a good rest of your evening, everyone. We'll be back here tomorrow evening, maybe a little bit later than normal, but we'll still be here, and we'll take a look at some more stuff. We'll take a look at the temperature forecast again, and, well, who knows what else will be going on that we'll talk about when that happens. So I hope you all have a good rest of your evening, everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time to join me on tonight's Weather Chat with Timmy. We'll see you back here tomorrow evening. Have a good one, everyone.